So, good evening, everyone. So, as I said before, my name's Matthew Allen, and I'll be giving you your demonstration this evening on PlansXpress from a design point of view and from a takeoff. As other people that have maybe come to these demonstrations before, there is an option on the right-hand side of you for you to be able to write questions, okay, and I'll answer them as and when I'm going through this demonstration. All right. So now we have three versions of PlansXpress. PlansXpress comes in the Takeoff edition, the Plus edition, and the Premium edition. The difference between the three versions, the Takeoff edition will be solely for you to upload plans. You'll do the Takeoff on screen, and then you can import that into the estimating software. Now, Takeoff by itself would probably be a little pointless, if I'm going to be totally honest. Only because once you've got all that functionality there, the next step would be to import it into Estimator and get a cost. PlansXpress Plus, that's going to allow you to do your designs. Anything from planning application to building regulation drawings. And once you've done those designs, you can import that into the estimating software. You can then start going through the materials. And then you can start generating your building regulation notes, just so you can start doing and filling in the information about build overs, the amount of pea gravel you're going to be using on drainage and so on. Okay. And finally, you then have the premium version, which does grant you access to the 3D photo visualizer, which does give you a more architectural rendered finish on the design that you're going to be doing. Okay, which is actually quite nice, especially if you're going to be using it as a feature to be able to sell your services to clients. Now, I'm actually going to be coming at this from a premium point of view. So what I do have are all the architectural features. Okay, I've also got the 3D modeling that the software will generate for me. And then I've also got the non-estimated 3D items as well. So you can do such things as add in sofas, televisions, and just give your client an idea of the spatial awareness that they're going to be dealing with. All right. So when you turn on your software, this is how you're going to be greeted. So the page in the middle is actually giving us some generic sizes. All right. So we've got A11 to 100, A11 to 50, A3, A4, and so on. Next to that, you then have plain page or with title and notes block, as you can see here. And the difference between the two is if I select with title and notes block and click OK, this is what comes up on the right hand side. So if you're going to be doing your own designs, this is what you would want on the right hand side. Okay. Now, if you couldn't find the size that you wanted to work to, that's not a problem at all. So you can come down to the bottom of the screen here where you can see scale 1 to 50. You can select that, and then you can change size of the page, whether you want it to be landscape or portrait, and you can set the scale as well. You can even type in your own if you wanted to. Okay. I do have a question, terribly sorry. Perfect. Okay, Kevin, if you don't have any sound, Kevin, the best thing I can advise you to do is just check your speakers. Okay. I am terribly sorry. So once you've done that there, you can then start having a look at the top of the screen. Okay, so you've got your external walls, your internal walls, any feature masonry that you want to be getting on with, doors, windows, openings and steelwork, stairs, flooring, all the way through to your renovation work as well. As a rule of thumb, personally, PlansXpress, I wouldn't really do a renovation job within PlansXpress. Don't get me wrong, the software can do it, and it's quite nice for you to be able to give your client a nice idea of how, if they were going to be going open plan, you're going to be going down a renovation suite that way. However, if you're in the estimating software, you'll be able to find that 10, 15 times easier doing a renovation in the estimating software than you would do here. All right. From the architectural tab, you've then got your drawing and annotation. So this allows you to start dropping in lines, arcs, and circles, depending on what kind of work that you're going to be doing for your client. You can also go into the middle of the construction line, something that I'm going to be using today, something that's going to be able to help you set out your blueprints. And then you've also got your annotation as well, so linear dimensions, chain dimensions, and so on. Yes, this demonstration is being recorded. Yes, absolutely is being recorded. I just want to make sure. So, yes, thank you, Stuart. I did have to double check then, but thank you. No, you've even, I think my boss would shoot me if it wasn't recorded. So, from here, you can then go to your non-estimated items, so you can find your 3D architectural symbols that we will drop into our demonstration later on, but I'll just give you an idea of what they look like. Now, as you can see, you've got bath with seats. I can see desks if we're going to be going in with more commercial work, if you're going to be going into schools, gazebos, gates, fireplaces, and so on. If you wanted to make the demonstration look a little bit more homey. All right. From there, we can then start having a look at our sections for planning, application, and building regulation. Modify and selection. This is a tab that you can use if you want to set anything as non-estimated. Views in 3D is what it says on the tin at the end of the day. Okay, you're going to be able to see your views. You can draw elevations, give multiple levels. Scan and trace, that'll show you at the very end how that works. And then your settings as well, so you can start switching the mouse buttons if you want to. You can always reset your layouts as well. So if you ever think, oh God, I've actually lost something here, just come into the settings tab, click reset layout. Everything will shutter, and then you'll have all the relevant pages right back where they started at the beginning. So what we want to do is first we want to set out the size of our job. So I'm going to go to drawing and annotation, and I'm going to go to the construction lines. So we've got horizontal and vertical here. I'm going to go with vertical first, and I can place this anywhere that I want on the page. It doesn't really matter at the very beginning, okay, because we can move it as a whole later on. Now the software does work in millimeters as well, so you have to remember that when you're actually doing your drawings from this point, it works in millimeters. Okay, so if I needed to have from the left-hand side to the right-hand side of my house here, I'm going to draw a detached house, and it was going to be about 9 meters in width. Okay, I know that that's going to be 9,000 millimeters. All right, so I can hover my mouse here. Now, I could try and figure out what the distance was. Okay, or what I can do is I can press R on my keyboard for relative. Again, I can start measuring this out. Probably wouldn't want to do that. That'd be a bit of a nightmare. You'd have to zoom in. Then if I use my arrow keys as well, I can press right, and then this box comes up in the middle, and I can type in 9,000. So I'm using just my keyboard at the moment. And this is what we call quick keys. Okay, and then from the horizontal side of it, we've got 9 meters from left to right. I can just go 7 or 8 meters back. So it's going to look like a bit of a small square, as it were. But I can place that wherever I need to, and again, right, up. Okay, and then let's even go 750 even. Okay, so we have that there. And that's going to be the size of our house. Now what I could do is I could even make this a little bit more unique. I could come in 2.5 meters or 3 meters if I didn't like how that looked. Okay, and I can give this a little bit of a edge to it. Okay, so we can come in from the front as well, just to show that we're going to have that little offcut coming off the front of the house. Once I'm happy with my shape, and so this is the shape here, I can then go to my architectural tab, and I can start going through what I need to do. Firstly, on the left-hand side, we've got our external walls. I can click that. We've then got a drop-down of brick and block cavity wall, brick and ICF, brick and SIPs. External cavities, your block and block with render. We've then got rendered ICF, SIPs, stone cavity, and so on. Now, if you're going to be doing any timber framework, what you would have to do is select the brick and block cavity wall, go through all the processes, and then come in again and then go convert internal leaf to timber frame, and then it's going to calculate all that for you as well. Okay, so that's nice. That's a nice quick process for you. If I hover my mouse over the brick and block cavity wall, we've then got additional options. Okay, so we do have some descriptions for you. So we've got ground floor and additional floor. Difference between the two is that ground floor is going to calculate for your foundations and footings. Additional floor won't. You've then got some generic heights that we've stuck in there for you as well. However, these are completely changeable. And then we've also got the single story and multi-story option on the right-hand side. Difference again is that the multi-story is going to be, say, 2.4 meters to the ceiling height, but it's also going to add on 225 mil for the block and brickwork for you to be able to stick in a joist and add on that second floor, that suspended floor. Okay, so if I select that one here, so it's going to be 2.4 plus 225, and then we've got that 2625 over on the left-hand side there. And once I've selected that, what's coming up here is what we call your dimension wizards. Okay, you can see that we've got no length of wall because we're going to draw that in ourselves. But we've got the height. We don't need to worry about the gable because that will be all pre-filled in for us. Foundation details, we've got 900 deep, 600 wide. As you can see, we're following building regulation here. Unless you hit bedrock, it's usually going to be about 1 meter deep foundations. We've then got 400 mil, a 0, and then you've got your plan construct excavation, yes or no, bulking of the excavated material at 1.5. So firstly, if we just talk about this one here, the bulking factor, as you'll all know, it's the soil coming out of the ground. We're just going to say it's going to expand by at least half. So when you do take that into the estimating software, it will calculate that for you. Okay, but this here, this 400 mil and this 0, if I turn on the tech tips and the tech labels, every time that you click a box, it's going to tell you in this top right hand corner here what you're going to be changing. Now, we're not teaching you how to suck eggs. You know the building game. You know what's going on here. It's just that we'll have dimensions that you might be asking yourself, why is that there? Okay, and the difference between this is that you've got your premium concrete and then you've just got a mass fill concrete. All right, it's just so that, again, the estimating software can calculate that for you. From here, we've then got the footing details. So the splash course depth, brickwork depth below splash course, thickness of the wall, cavity fill depth, and then is the main wall to be insulated, yes or no? Is there a separate DPC, yes or no? And then you've got your plastering and decorating options. More often than not, it's probably going to be plastered. Clients more often than now like to say that they'll decorate them themselves. They regret it later on. We're all honest with ourselves. But it's something that they think they're going to be saving a lot of money on. Okay, and then you can click finish. From here, you can see down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a command window. And this command window is just telling me to give my first point. So if I just go and click here, I can then start drawing around my site. Now, what could be the case is that I could be going around anti-clockwise and my wall is facing the wrong way and it's on the wrong side of my dimension. So if I'm saying that these blue lines are going to be my external wall dimensions, all right, my wall is now facing the wrong way because that arrow is indicating the external side. If that does happen, if you ever get into that situation, don't be worried. In the top left-hand corner here, you do have something that says Justification and external side. Justification is that red line, that's just the line that I'm following. So I can then change that to the right-hand side of the wall. And then I can also change that to the right as well, so it's facing the other way. And I can do that, and I can click around. And before you know it, I've got my template for my floor for myself here now. Okay, so if I zoom out, that's my plan here. Now, as I've connected that wall, I can now start another wall somewhere else by just left clicking and going again. But if I just wanted to turn that off, I can just click the right button, my right mouse button, sorry, and that just goes away. If I want it to come back, again, right mouse. Oh no, terribly sorry, I changed my buttons. So for me, it would be a middle mouse wheel click. Okay, and I'd be able to go back again. All right. What I now want to do is I just want to move this to the top left-hand corner so I can highlight everything. See these little red lines here? Just click one and I can move everything to where I need it to be. All right, so I can do that as well. Click refresh in the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner, sorry, and then that's all good to go. I do have a question. So why did the lines extend across the entire background and not just the shape that you require? So essentially, you could be using these lines in aid to actually create multiple stories. Okay, so what I'd want to do is if I wanted to create, say, a second floor, what I would do is I would go to the scan and views in 3D, sorry, and then I'd go to the level function. Selecting level, I can then select a base height, which is going to be 0, and then a wall height. Now I know mine's 2625 from the height that I put in earlier on. I can click OK. Then the software down here is asking me to give a reference point. So I'm going to select a point in the building that doesn't change at all. all right, from top to the bottom of the house. So I know that's going to be this front left-hand corner here. I can select that one there. And then the software tells me give a reference point. I'm just going to, again, click once, and then draw a box around my building. So that's now indicating that this is my first floor. What I can then do is I can just highlight that pink line, right click and go copy selection, give a reference point. So select that original one, and I'll just move it along. And the line stays the same. Okay. But this time now it's asking me about where my base height is. So 2625. My wall height, I'm going to add on another 2625 mil of wall. Okay. I can pull in doors and windows if I had any. Okay. But I'm going to be removing the foundations as well. And I can click OK. And then that populates 2 for me. And what I can do is I can then get rid of these construction lines. And I know that these are my first and second floor. Okay. Somebody wants to be able to be shown how you move everything to the corner again. That's not a problem at all. So what I'll do is I'll highlight everything. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to grab one of the red boxes, not the blue. The blue allows you to stretch. By clicking the red box, you can move this wherever you need to on the page. All right. The reason I put it into the top left-hand corner is because it allows you to then drop in building regulation notes and all sorts. You can do levels in that as well. Once you're here, you can then start looking at your internal works as well. So firstly, I may want to drop down a slab, a house slab. So I'll go across the top, and then we've got our flooring. I can hit the drop down box, and then we've got suspended floor, floor cassettes, beam and block flooring, floor slabs. Now, as you can see, we've got a bit of a P shape going on here at the moment, and a lot of questions do come in and saying, is there any way for me not to have to do like 2 rectangular floor slabs? And yes, there is. All right, so if I go to the floor slabs, we can go in here. We've got a house slab, extension, garage, renovation. Then we've also got a regular shaped floor slab. If I select that one there, we go into the thickness of the sand blinding and the thickness of the sub base. So as you can see, it's 6 inches and 1 inch. We've then got the thickness of the slab itself. It's gone for 5 inches here, but you probably want to go for 4 inch. Is there a damp proof membrane? Yes, there will be. What's the overlap of that? 0.5 meter, just so you can cut it away later on. Is there insulation to the underside of the slab? Yes, there will be. Reinforcement to the bottom of the top? Yes or no. Is it power flake finished? Depends on whether or not you're going to be going with your screed. Okay. Now, the reinforcement is indicated by these little points here because that's going to be the edge of your bracing. Okay. You can even turn on those tech tips and tech labels again. And you can see that we've got our reinforcement there. From there, what we want to do is we just want to draw around the perimeter of what and where we want to pop in a slab. Okay. So we can do that there. It then adds in that slab. It's seeing if we want to go off in another way. But if I just right click, that gets rid of that there. And then do I want to place a perimeter of insulation to the slab? Yes, I do. Again, essentially you just go through the depth. And this pink line that you can see on the interior, what you should get is when you drop in a place your perimeter of insulation is a nice dashed grey line. Okay, and you can do this nice and fast. From a design perspective, you probably wouldn't have to worry about this too much. Okay, if you are using this as an architectural package, because the likelihood of you showing perimeter insulation on a design for your clients is highly unlikely. Okay. Once you've done that there, we can then start going through the actual dimensions of the internal building as well. So firstly, I want to go to the drawing and annotation, and then I can just start marking off what my internal dimensions are. Okay, so we've got the linear dimension tool here, and I can go from this corner to this corner. It's going to tell me exactly how far that is, so 8,395. But if I wanted to have multiple stops, what I can do is I can choose the chain dimension, and then I can go, okay, we've got these 2 points here. That's 6 meters, and I'm going to pop that here, and then I'm going to go to the perpendicular wall as well, and we can drop that one in. So we know at least now what our dimensions are from left to right, and I can also do one from front to back if I wanted to as well. Now, I'm terribly sorry that you are seeing me zoom in and zoom out a lot. It's much easier to move around this page. However, my mouse is playing up a little bit, so I cannot grab the page as easily as we normally would, because what would happen is I could hold my middle mouse wheel down and a little hand would come up and you'd be able to drag yourself along the screen, but my mouse doesn't want to play ball tonight. Okay, so I'm just going to have to do a little bit more zooming in and out. All right. Once we've done that, you can see that we're working with 6,000 millimeters. I can go back to the drawing and annotation. I can come in, I can start dropping in my construction lines, and again, start working out the distances that I want to go with. Okay, so we've got a 6 meter wide room. If I go with, say, no, we can go with 6 meters. Why not? Let's go 6 meters all the way. We've got that there. We can say that this is probably an addition onto the house. That was going to be an addition anyway. So we can work that off. And then we're working with a 5 meter in depth house. This is a very small house, it seems. Okay, but we can go with it. All right. Once we're happy with that, we can then drop in some internal walls. So I'm going to drop in an internal wall here. We've got internal cavity block wall, so that would actually sit fine coming off of this wall here. And then I can go for a ground floor, 2.4 multi-story. We've got that height there. I can accept all the defaults because I'm happy with everything else that I'm going to be going with. Okay, if you are happy with the dimensions, you can just click accept defaults. And then I can go up. But again, as we can see, everything's on the wrong side. So I can do that as well. All right. So it just makes your life a little bit easier in that regard. If I wanted to see what my house is actually looking like now, I can go to the views in 3D and the 3D Premium. And what we're going to be able to see here is something that does look multi-story right now, but we can see that we've got our second floor in there. All right, when we start dropping in windows and a roof, we'll just make life a little bit easier. And again, we can get rid of these construction lines because they're no longer necessary for our build. Once we're happy with the internal dimensions, all right, sorry, this is going to be quite quick. Okay, we can start going into the architectural tab, and again, we can start looking at doors and windows now. So from the windows perspective, we've got our windows in there for you. So we've got softwood, hardwood, PVC-UM, all right, but we also have a link with a client called Crystaldirect. Now, I don't know whether or not you've heard of this company before, but what you can do is you can select a door and a window, you can give it color, okay, shape, size, and then if your client was happy to go with that window, you could order that through Crystaldirect. Okay, so you can even add in the U value, the width, so I can say that it's going to be, say, 2334, the height, just over a meter, and then I can even select a style as well if I want to do it, if I want it to be the style and a color. And mine's going to be anthracite. Select that window. It's then going to give me the relevant lintels as well, the cavity closers. And then I can go through the decoration dimensions, so the plastering, the decorating, and so on. Once I'm happy with that, I can then pop a window in here. And this is moving from side to side a little bit. So what I can do is if I need that to be exactly in the middle of that wall, I can just press the M button for midpoint. And I can select that window there. Similarly, I can do this here as well. And we've now got that at the same point, upstairs and downstairs. So we're now seeing the front of our house come together. Now, personally, what I would do is I would usually, if I just delete this one here, I do everything downstairs, and then I would move across to upstairs. That way then the windows are going to be in the same place, so they are matching. All right, and we can go from there. So if I wanted to make sure that I had, say, a window at the front of the house down here that's going to be, say, a meter off or half a meter off the corner of the house, nice and quickly, I can place this here, half meter, select my window. I'm holding it in the middle of the page, in the middle of the window, sorry, as you can see, but I can change that up here to the left or the right. If it was going to be the right, I can click to that little line as well. Okay. I can get rid of that. I can then drop in a front door, and it's the exact same process. Again, we have doors for you, but this Crystaldirect allows you to be able to then select aluminium doors, PVCU, and so on. Okay, if I had a composite door, I'm just going to select the first one I can find. I'm just going to select this one here, but I could go through again, U value, color. Well, if I just stick to the theme, why not anthracite? I can go with that one there. It will give me the lintel, the cavity closers, plastering and threshold details, decoration specification, and then I can just change that there. And if I go for that center, I can select that this is going to be the middle of that part of the wall as well. I can just say which way I want that wall to, that door to swing. Okay. Fusion 3D, 3D Premium, house. And it's looking more and more like something we could actually work with. All right. If I wanted to do a couple of little knock-throughs, okay, a couple of openings, what I could do is on the architectural tab, we've got openings in Stillwick. I could do structural opening into an existing wall or opening into a new wall. So they'll calculate the labor allocated to that. But if these are going to be too small openings, then what I can do is I could just keep it to an existing wall, cavity wall, and then we've got some heights and widths in there for us. So I can place these as I see on the openings. And the reason I've placed them there is because I'm going to stick a staircase right in the middle. Okay, and we can then start selecting the risers that we want to use as well. Okay, so we've then got the width, the number of risers, the going length, the handrail details, newel post and spindle details if you're going to be getting involved with that, plastering specification, the decoration spec as well. And then I can start placing as we see fit. And I can place my staircase there as well. And now we can see that it's turning into something a little bit more relatable to what people actually build on a regular basis. Probably not like this, as we probably all agree, but you do have that option available as well. All right. Once you're happy there, you can just move your way along to what you need to do next. All right. So we've then got drainage. So we can go with our drain runs, deep manholes, inspection chambers, shallow access manholes, soakaways, gullies, back inlet details as well, back inlet gullies. External work, so your site strips, your decking, your block paving, paving edges, tarmac drives as well. So you can do all these types of designs. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to show you how you would create a level. So you'd go to the views in 3D, you'd go to level, you'd select a base height and a wall height, so 2625. Click OK. You'd give a reference point, so a place that does not change between the first floor and the second floor. So it's going to be that external front wall. Give first point a box to define the level, so I can just click here. And then I can just draw that around my house. To then create a second level, I just highlight this pink line or click it. Okay. I can then just right click, copy selection, and it tells me to give that reference point again, which is down here. And then I can move this along. I'm just going to hold shift and keep that dead straight now. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to include my doors, my windows? So I'm not going to let it include the doors, but it is going to remove all the foundations and footings for me as well. Click OK. I can take out the flooring because I don't need a concrete floor on my second floor. I can go Vision 3D, 3D Preview. And now coming together. It did pull up that second staircase. Likelihood is we won't be having that staircase, but it's always nice to drop in a construction line as to where your staircase finishes, and that way then at least you know where your landing is going to be. All right. I do have a question, so bear with me 2 seconds. Are there a list of shortcuts? Yes, there are. Believe it or not, we do have a printout somewhere, something that we can email you with all the shortcut keys. Okay, that's not a problem at all. So we, I mean, to be totally honest with you, I've been with the company 7-8 years now, and I'm still learning them. Okay, but that is something that can be done. You do have a handbook at hand at all times with the software as well. Okay, so in the top right-hand corner here, you have a question mark and you have an I. Okay, so if I go on that question mark, you have the PlansXpress help system. And then you've got your how-tos and how to do different types of jobs. Oh, here we go. Minimize that. Tabs and commands. And you can see that we've also got something in there for you as well to be able to help you with any part of this. Now, I know this is quite small, but we have videos on this as well. Now, there's we do have a trainer in-house called Olivia, and she does something called software skills training, and that would help you in this in abundance as well. All right. So as you can probably tell, so I've just had a question that will we be filming an advanced webinar of the 3D software for those of us that use this software full time. So what we do is we hold 2 types of webinars within HBXL. We hold a sales webinar and we hold a technical training webinar. Technical training one is usually held by Jim, our technical director, okay, or sometimes Tom, that is our technical manager. All right. Now, that would go into maybe a little bit more detail about how to create your sections and that as well. All right. But the processes are the same going through. Okay. I hope that helps. But yes, we do offer that as an option as well. Okay. So what we would want to do from this point here is we want to add on, say, a roof. All right, so if I just drop in some construction lines, and the reason I'm doing that is because that way then I can just find my line as well. And what I want to do is I want to go to the architectural tab, go to the roof, hit the drop down box. We've got a cut roof, truss roof, SIPS roof, flat roof as well. We've then got PVC roof lights and so on. If I go for a cut roof, we've got some typical degrees of pitch in there for you. Okay, so 30 degrees, 35, 40, 45, and so on. So if I set a 40-degree pitch, we then have the opportunities to be able to change that pitch as well. So it doesn't really matter whether or not you want that pitch, it's there for you. Okay. Then the software asks you a few questions about roofs that you may not even be dealing with. Okay, so if that is the case, just ignore the dimensions. So we've got here the height of the gable to the underside of the barn hip. Now you might not be building one of them, just ignore it. We can then go into the roof structure. So we've got the soffit width of the gables, the timber and the roof strap details, soffit width for the eaves, the rafter centers and the joist centers, the guttering details as well, your tiling and insulation information, roof finishes, and then we get to select the roof that we want to do. So if I were to select an apex roof just to start, I can click OK. And the one thing that you always have to remember with a roof is always go gable end first. Okay, so I'm going to select this wall here and then go gable end and then length of the roof. So I've got that there now. Okay. Do I wish to consider a flat ceiling, a vaulted ceiling, purlins and binders at this stage? I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. And then if I wanted to add on another part of the roof to sink in here, I just click the roof icon again, or I can just right click. It's entirely up to you. And it's saved all the information that you've just done about that roof. Okay, so it's not going to change or worry about the distance of the rafters. Again, it's just going to keep it all the same. And if I want to go again with a apex roof, I can click OK. All you have to remember is gable end first. But when you want to tie it into this roof, just remember to click the T button on your keyboard and then click the line of the roof. And then it's going to ask us about flat ceilings, vaulted ceilings, purlins and binders again, but it does that for us. I can go to the views in 3D, the 3D Premium, and again now we are building up something that looks a little bit more human as to what you would be looking at on a regular basis if you were going to be building anything similar to this. Okay. Now what you can do is when you've got the actual design software, so I'm just going to pull that out of the way a second. If I go to the settings and I go reset layout, we're going to see something over here on the right hand side that says Layout Explorer. What you can do is, from an architectural point of view, you may not want everything on one page. The likelihood is you wouldn't. All right. So what you can do is, on the right hand side here, is you can start creating different drawings. Now, say I'd only actually given you the external dimensions of the house. What I can do is I can click where it says drawing, and then I can start adding in a new layout. Use the complete drawing, yes. And I can call that electrics, say. What I can then do is I can come back into my drawing, under the electrics tab anyway, and start popping in. I'm just going to do a couple of double sockets for the time being. So I'm just going to do that as well. So what I could then do is I could place all the electrics down. Because it's under my electrics tab, I can click drawing. And they're gone again. Okay, so I can have a separate sheet for the documents that I want to send over to my builder about whether or not they're going to be electric, plumbing. You can do that. And you can start building up different pages and different layers for your builders and your clients as well. So I have another question. So is there a quick way to produce an edited copy to show the client or submit for planning? The version you create for estimating can be confusing for others who just want to see the plain plan. So I don't think there's a straightforward way of you being able to just say, right, okay, then this is what it's going to look like. I think you'd still have to follow some of the processes. Okay. But you can do these sizes and these designs quite quickly. Okay. Now, for somebody like me that does know the software quite well, okay, I could do a design if I knew what the client was wanting very fast. Okay, so I could give them elevations, I could give them the sections because I know the dimensions that I'm working with very quickly. All right, now don't get me wrong, what you could do is you can create your own extension templates if you needed to. I mean, that's one way of going about it. And that way then if you knew that you had a lean-to, what you could then do is you could just open up that lean-to as a generic lean-to. All right, and then you can then start doing the little bit of add-ons that your client does want, and then you can build it up from there. There are always quicker ways to be able to do something within the software, but sometimes it just takes a little bit of groundwork, if I'm totally honest. True, I've just had somebody this say about switching off layers as well, actually. So what you could do, believe it or not, we do have the scan and trace, the views in 3D option. And what you could do is over on the right hand side here, we've got different views and different layers. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually tweak what you want to be able to see at any given time. Now, under the views, we have some in there for you, such as just the roof lines, if you just wanted to see that. Okay, that's something that we've got there for you. But then we can also see all items. But what we've also got are the layers tab. From the layers here, what we can then do is, with a little bit of help, what you could do is you can go through this list and you can start switching off and tweaking with the colors. But personally, I'd stay with the views that we've given you, because you can turn hatching off and you can make it look just a little bit more generic, maybe for your client, just to be able to see something like this, because you don't want to see all the runs or anything like that. Okay, so you do have that option as well. Okay. Is the software trying to do away with architectural services? So, I can't say yes or no to that question, really. So, essentially, we know that architects are in a league of their own with what they can actually do within the design world. Now, we're not trying to take away anything from architects from what they do on a regular basis. What we are offering builders, however, is, and what the software did originally start as, is a Takeoff platform. Just to make your estimating a whole lot easier, you can see a lot more visual as well. There are different types of learning mechanisms that people like to cope with, and some of them are more visual, some of them are just a lot linear as well. You like to see line and line of information. Now, this is more of the visual aspect of it. What this also grants you as well is an opportunity to be able to speak to your client, give them a nice idea of what they're going to be having built next to their home, okay, or onto their home, or what home that you may be designing for them. Now, unless a builder has a very comprehensive idea of how the building game works and does have the relevant legislation and insurance to cover himself, then yes, he could take that upon himself. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't tell him to go away and do grand designs with this software, because I would actually leave that to an architect that could do that with this. The 3D might be a little bit touch and go, but the design aspect would be the same. However, no, I wouldn't say that we're trying to take away from from architects. We're trying to bin architects anyway. But I think that if you are a builder and that you do have the competency of how building regulation works, or planning application works anyway, then yes, I do think that this would add to that bow on your string to your bow. Sorry. Okay. So, another question. Here we go. Any questions that anybody has, by the way, if you can fire them out here, that would be perfect. Thank you ever so much. Okay. It might feel stop-start to some, but to me personally, the more questions that are asked, the less you go away with not knowing. Okay. So once you're happy with the shape and the size, and once you've actually done your internal walls as well, okay, I don't think I need to emphasize how to go through internal walls more. You can start, if you were offering this as a service to your client, you can start going into the drawing and annotation options, and you can start offering 3D imagery as well. Now, what you can do with this, you can offer them, as I said, internal works. So we do have your electrical appliances. So you can go through your kitchens, electrical fittings. So if you're going to be doing up close shots of your kitchen, you can then start showing them that they've got your single sockets, your double sockets as well. You've got your fireplace to show living rooms, gates, greenhouses, HVAC work, and so on. HVAC, that's just, we've got a typical rad for you there. Okay. So once you're actually happy with what you want to add in to the job, say it is going to be a electrical appliance, we want to add in an American fridge freezer. I can click American fridge freezer. We've got a wonderful white freezer here that's frightening. I'm totally honest with you. So we've got a 900 mil in width, 650 in depth, height 1780, and fridge door width is 500. Okay, so we're happy with that. You can change the colors, which I vote you do. So you can alter the colors, and by just clicking the color itself, so this white color, we can go and change this to whatever we see fits. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of a dark gray there, and then we can go away with this as well. It just makes it a little bit nicer to look at. Not too nice, if I'm totally honest with you, but we do have that option as well. Clicking OK, this is what it's going to look like when it goes into our kitchen. I can click Insert As, and then I can place this as I see fit for the kitchen. All right. Again, 3D imagery. I can pull this in. By the way, when you do reset your settings, by the way, it is going to send your 3D imagery over to the right-hand side. That's something that you can just pull out and expand. Okay, and as you can see through this window, we can see that we've got our fridge in there as well, so you can just give a nice peek through the window to your client as well. Okay, and you can do this with multiple items. You can then build up a garden for if you wish. It's entirely up to you. Okay, I have another question. One for later, do you have any plans to offer health and software training? So we don't offer health and safety training. Okay, we can give you a guide through our other packages, don't get me wrong. We do have a health and safety package if other people want to look at that. Okay, but we don't personally train you in that. We do have access for you to be able to take online training for health and safety. Okay, but that is there. And yes, for another day, absolutely, that is something that we can direct you to. That wouldn't be a problem at all. Is there a way of purchasing additional palettes for the photo visualization? So we're actually, believe it or not, I think we kind of gun for this more than our users, to be fair. So with another company that we are helping create the software with, the 3D objects anyway, because when this software originally came out, just a bit of a history, it wasn't really an internal design aspect. All right, but what we want to do is we want to help answer as many different kind of situations and obstacles that you as builders are actually having to overcome now. And one of them is 3D imagery. People want to know how they're going to be able to deal with space, what's going to look like internally. And that's something that we are speaking with and helping create within our software. So yes, new objects will be coming. No, I cannot give you a time or a date as to when they will be there. But however, as you can see with what we have been doing with PlansXpress, as you might have felt that it was not kept up to with for a while, we are making sure that this is being pushed forward as fast as we can now as well. Another question, can you send the customer a 3D image so they can pan around like I just did? Unfortunately not. Now that's something that I've asked technical directors, and there's no simple solution, unfortunately, only because the software does use something inside of the package called the 3D photo visualizer and that 3D rendering as well. You can show and send screenshots to your clients, but that's pretty much where the ball lays at the moment. We do have an estimator, believe it or not, the director's brother, that has done walkthroughs using this software. Okay, to be totally honest with you, I take my hat off to him because I don't think that is the most easiest thing to do, but believe it or not, it is something that you can achieve with the package. And when we start looking at the 3D photo visualizer in a couple of seconds, you'll be able to see what you can actually achieve with that. You can import images from Google. You can take photos of the site that you're actually looking at and superimpose your drawing onto that image as well. So there are ways of being able to allow your client to be able to have that more immersive feel when you are dealing with this as well. All right. Does anybody have any more questions before we start seeing the 3D photo visualizer? I'll just wait a few moments. Okay, so the 3D photo visualizer, this actually comes with the premium. So if I were to just show you the imagery that you get with the different versions. Okay, so if I give 3D preview a second, you get this type of image with the plus version. You also get it with the Premium. You get the rendering with the Takeoff version. However, the windows and doors are usually just squares, just to show that they are there. Okay, so it's not exactly the greatest 3D breakdown. There are different views that you can see, so we can see a little bit more solid. We can go more, I don't even know how to describe this one, to be fair. And then we can also go more transparent as well, so we can start seeing the internal works that we can go with. All right, but that is there for you to be able to take full advantage of with each version that you're going to be using with the software. You can change the background. If you don't like this gray, you can just change it to a light blue if you wanted to. Dark blue, which is awful, it seems. Okay, and then we've got shades of blue as well, which is something a little bit nicer. All right. Away from this, however, we've then got the 3D photo visualizer. So firstly, you want to be able to save your job. So I'm just going to call it demonstration. Click select. And then we're just going to allow the 3D photo visualizer to load up within the software. Just popping this image here. Just going to close that one down a second. Oh, just going to allow access for that. Okay. And this is when we're going to be looking at the 3D photo visualizer now. As you can see, the 3D imagery has upscaled itself monumentally. I can go around here. And we still have, if I move in, we can still see that we've got our internal works as well. So from here, if I wanted to change, say, what the color of the brickwork was going to look like, I could change this to whichever color I needed it to be. So if I needed it to be yellow, so we're going to go for a sandstone effect more than anything else, I could drop that on to the individual items. Now, the reason why we have it as individual is because you may have this sandstone effect downstairs, but you may have a cladding upstairs. So you may want to just swap what you're going to be looking at from top to bottom, depending on what your house is going to look like at the end of the day. All right. You can start looking at the backgrounds as well. So I can start seeing some abstract backgrounds for those artsy ones in here. But then we've also got the rural outcomes, and we can start dropping these in as well. And all I've got to do is just click, drag and drop. And then what I can do, and this is when my middle mouse wheel wants to play up. See, so what would then happen is you'd be able to lay down your house as and how you could be able to see it, and you'd be able to go from there. What time for my middle mouse wheel to click? Right, okay, so I do apologize. You'll be able to actually scale this a whole lot better than you normally would. Okay, so let's just say if it's going to be like here, so we can see the background. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you can then start working on the lighting. However, one thing to make you aware of, the moment you drag lighting from this page onto here, your background does change automatically for you, which can be a bit of a pain. Okay, so just so you're aware, that does happen. Something that I have made aware to the directors. But what you can do is with this moment, once you have your lighting, you can start really tweaking how you want your lighting to work. So we can go edit lighting, and we can start changing the contrast, the brightness, the model size. But we can also edit the light position, so we can go with the height. And as you can see down here, we can make that as high or as low as we need it to be. The sun rotation as well, and an image rotation depending on where we want to sit. And if I'm happy with that and I want to see that cascading light down the side of my house, I can then start rendering this up to a bit of a sharper image. I can go with a full render or a preview render. And if I were to click full render, it will start generating something that's going to look more photorealistic for me. So we have a question. So is this an add-on as part of a previous package demonstrated, or all part of the same software purchase? So as I came up with earlier on, we do have 3 versions of the software. We have the Takeoff, the Plus, and the Premium. The 3D Photo Visualizer, this will actually be in the Premium version of our software. Okay, so this comes as standard with that. So what spec machine does this software require? My Core i5 with 16GB RAM struggles. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is when you actually install programs, there's an install file as well on your computer. So a lot of the times, more often than not, you've probably downloaded the software almost twice to your computer. So I would highly recommend, firstly, before ever thinking about trying to get a new computer, is just go into your downloads file, downloads folder as well onto your computer, and just go through some of your packages. Okay, deleting them in the downloads won't delete them off your homepage. Okay, so there will be no risk of that. All right, but I'd start there first and then start working your way back. Now, a Core i5, 16GB of RAM, that should run the software fine. Now, I've just spent about 600 quid in this computer that I'm running it on at the moment. Okay, and as you can see, my software runs quite well. In the background, I've got Estimator Express, PlansXpress, Health and Safety, Contracts, Projects. I'm into my photography, so as you can see Photoshop down here as well, and that's no small package. That's probably the worst running software package on my computer. But yes, what I do like to maintain, and I do always recommend this to my my clients as well, is just go into your downloads folder and just have a look at what's still in there, because you may be still having items from 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago that you no longer see, still just knocking up space on your computer. Okay, and that will have an adverse effect of how memory is being ran within your package, within the software as well. All right. But yes, going back to the versions of the software, essentially we've got your Takeoff Plus Premium. There are 2 versions to be able to buy of each package. So your subscription and your outright purchase. Okay, and those costs can be found on our website, and I can go through them as well at the very end. What's the cost of HPXL doing what we've just done compared to the purchase? So, now, I believe from on our estimating side of the company, our HES and estimating service, we can offer you 3D imagery. Now, personally, I don't know the costs of that inside and out, but I do know that it is a feature. We also offer health and safety as well, so if you do need that on your sites, okay. But yes, other than that, unfortunately, I can't actually answer that question because I don't have the costs in front of me, because it's not usually a question I answer on a regular basis. But there are opportunities for designs that you need done from builds that you're going to do, and we can offer that as a service as well. Okay, and that's dealt with by Ian Clark and our estimating service. So if you do need details about that, I can send that across for you. That wouldn't be a problem. Okay. Now, personally, there's actually not much more that I can go through when it comes to the 3D imagery. I can go over a few more workbooks within the actual design aspect of our software. However, if I just close away from that, the internal walls from single skin to cavity walls, the process is the same going forward. I would always highly recommend construction lines for you to be able to just set out your dimensions. I would always go with all your windows and doors on the first floor before creating your second floor and your third floor. Believe it or not, to be totally honest with you, I probably wouldn't have even dropped my roof onto this plan. I would have created another floor and done it that way instead. Okay, that way then at least you don't have these red lines over the top of your second floor as well. So another question was, can you help show how to amend the length of a wall, please? Was trying out a simple extension and managed to create a 500mm gap. So when you saw me earlier on highlighting all my drawing, and I told you to hold the red box here, it's because that allows you to grab everything in unison, okay, no matter what you are drawing. So I can do that. However, if I wanted to stretch a wall or decrease the length of a wall, I just click the wall itself, and then I can see that this blue box in the top left hand corner here. If I click that, that's going to allow me to stretch or pull a wall or put it wherever I need it to be. It's not going to move the wall. It's just going to allow me to send this exactly where I need it to be. So whether or not it's an inch back, 5 inches back, depending on what you need it to do. I can do the same with the structural opening as well. I can pull that by just selecting that blue box. Okay, you can snip walls in two by using the modify and selection tool. Okay, because you do have trim, trim extend, break, mirror, and so on. All right, say that you had actually done a lot of the designs, then you want to go back using a, oh, here we go, a regulation that you wanted to create. So you needed something to be 600 deep, 800 wide, say, for your foundations. It's complete chaos, but just say that was the case. And this wall was that foundation depth. What you can do is you can just select the wall, and after right clicking, you can select draw using the specification. That's the word I needed, specification. So I can do that then, and what's going to happen is that wall that I've drawn here, I can draw anything and it will hold the exact same specification as well. So I can do that if I wanted to. Okay, so there are very quick processes that you can find within the software to make life a whole lot easier, including your elevations as well. So I can go to the views in 3D. I can go to my draw elevation. Software down in the command window says give the wall on which the elevation will be based, and if I just said it's going to be off of this wall here, I can then give the observation point. So nice and far back, go in as deep as I can, go as far left as I need it to be, go as far right as I need it to be. The software then says give the reference point. If you use the exact same reference point as you did creating the first floor to the second floor, I can then click where I want my elevation to be, and it's going to say, do you want to create an elevation for all the levels? If I go yes, we then have an elevation created on our drawing on how the windows are opening as well and how our door sits. From here, you can then start again dropping in linear dimensions. If I wanted to have a chain dimension between these points here, so this is going to be 3 meters. You can create something like this. If I wanted to have any feature masonry, I can add on brick arches, brick corbels, header courses as well. If I needed that header course to be there, I could then start. I know it's not where you would simply put them, but I could put that in there as well. And it would then calculate for that inside the estimating software. We do have hatching options available for you as well. So if I were to go for Fusion 3D, it's not under Fusion 3D, where is it? It's under Drawing and Annotation. There it is. And what we can do is we can then start adding in different hatch patterns as well, whether it's going to be lofts, blocks, bricks. If I needed that to be a brickwork there, I can drop where I need my brickwork to be or blockwork to be as well. But then you'll be able to tailor the size of it as well compared to the drawing that you're going to be doing. So another question, what is the difference between an endpoint and an intersection? Some options come up. Totally honest with you, I can't answer that question. That's I've never been asked that before. So I'm guessing the endpoint is going to be the end of the line, the intersection somewhere in the middle. Honestly, how do you create your own materials? So that's something that would actually be taken into Estimator Express. That's when you would be playing with the specification. Okay, so when it comes to creating your own material, once you've actually done this design and you've imported it into Estimator Express, what you would then do is you'd start going through the material aspect of what you want to be using. Within that, you can then say, okay, the brickwork needs to be a Cotswold brick, and you'll be able to create that brick within Estimator Express, give it its building regulation detail as well, so size, weight, whatever it needs to be. And then once you've actually created that material, swapped it in for the material that was originally there, when you look at the building regulation notes, that material with that specification and those building regulation notes will be detailed within that building regulation and those planning notes as well. Okay, for the visualizer. So what can happen is that you would be able to find images online, and then you can start tweaking that material that way. To be totally fair, that's actually something Tom in the technical team is very good at. I wouldn't try and do it here because I'd probably be here for about 10-15 minutes trying to show you how to do it quite badly as well. Okay, but yes, what you can do is you can find hatchwork on Google as certain images. Okay, and then what you can do is you can import that into the software and you can give it a more realistic approach to what you're trying to create for your client. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'll sit here just in case anybody's typing anything. Is there a way of designing scaffolding within this software? So, I know you can calculate scaffolding within Estimator Express. Under your architectural tabs, you do have your renovation, you do have scaffolding here. Okay, so you have your, there we go, your typical large house scaffolding, two-story extension scaffolding, and so on. If you were to select that, you then start going about the width of the scaffolding, number of lifts, length of the table lifts, and so on. And once you click finish, you'd then be able to start giving the relevant detail for your scaffolding as well and how you would like that to be. Okay, so you can do that. It's not going to give you a 3D render of what the scaffolding is going to look like, but it is something that you can start placing scaffolding on the drawing itself. Okay, but it is there if you need it to be. The building regulation notes are generated within Estimator Express, so you can go through the relevant materials. It would be, you wouldn't have the relevant information that you would find. Don't get me wrong, the software does come with text and specification notes. It did. So now what you would do is you actually import this into estimating software. It will generate the notes for you, and then you can pull them back into the planning software. The recording will be available in the next 24 to 48 hours if you want to go back over this and see how certain processes were done. Is the Takeoff version sufficient to trace plans and input the quantities? Absolutely. So that's what Takeoff was really built for. This, from Premium and the Plus point of view, this is more for if you're looking at selling an image to your client and saying this is what we can offer you. Now, at the end of the day, we understand that some builders just don't want to get involved in that. Some people are trying to be a little bit different because competition might be a little bit or very high in their area, so they want to offer something different. But the Takeoff software, once you've imported the plans, okay, so if I just go with a new drawing, I'm just going to delete that there. What you can do is you can scan and trace, you can import a drawing, and I'm just going to select a PDF for the time being. If I go for my downloads, let me just see if I still have that drawing. Might not. Now, where will I have that plan? Terribly sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. I did have a plan here. May have forgotten to take it out of the there we have it. So this is going to be page 1 of 2 that we want to actually import. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for page 2 because we want to have the as-built drawings. Okay, you can set the rotation. You can then select the import quality. Now I know I can get away with best at this moment in time, and I can click finish. We can then give the first corner point. So just click down here, and we can make this as big or as little as we want. Personally, I make it quite small. The only reason because is what I want to do now is set the scale of the drawing. To do that, you click Measure Image Scale. It tells you to select an edge or an outer frame. Go Overkill, highlight the entire plan, and then give a first point, and you just have to find a point on the drawing. So I can then say, okay, this needs to be 3,000 millimeters between these 2 points. Type in 3,000. That's now the right size and the right scale. Perfect. And I can then start doing my takeoff to the scale provided. And again, just like, oh, terribly sorry. Just like when doing your own design, place down some construction lines. And then what we can do is we can go from here. Okay, so we can do this. Place it as we see fit. Oh, it's just being problematic. And then we can go through the dimensions of dropping in our door, our walls. And as you can see, the imagery alone, between the first one and the second one, so as you can see, this is quite light compared to this vibrant bloom. This is showing that it's a takeoff. Okay, so you do have that available for yourself as well. You can drop in some doors, some windows, but you would actually do a takeoff and import this to the estimating software once you're happy with what you've done. Okay. In Estimator Express, how do I generate the list of terms needed for the construction, or is it possible? You can generate certain notes and instructions for a build within Estimator Express, especially when it comes to the building regulation notes. Okay. However, that would be for another demonstration or a conversation with the technical team tomorrow. Okay. However, back to PlansXpress. Does anybody have any more questions before we can wrap it up? I can talk about costs as well. All the material work is done within Estimator Express as well. So, okay, well, thank you ever so much for your time this evening. The last thing I want to sign off on are the prices of our software. So what I will do is I'll take you to our shop on our website, and I'll show you the planning software costs. So as you can see, we've got two versions of every package. We've got the outright purchase and we've got the annual subscription. The main difference between the two is that every 12 months you'll be paying this cost, and then this price is a one-off fee for the software license. After 12 months, with the lifetime license, we would give you a call and ask you if you would want your support and updates to continue. If you were to say yes, you would then agree either a 24-month ongoing direct debit, or I believe the cost is at the moment £259 excluding the VAT a year for the support and updates for the software. Now with PlansXpress, we are beginning to snowball with the updates that this software package is going to have. Some of them are very exciting. I'd like to go through them with you tonight, but I can't. Okay, but it's going to be a lot more intuitive going forward. Okay, so if anybody does have any questions, or if anybody would want any feedback or calls tomorrow to discuss costs or payment or purchasing, if you can just leave a note, pop your hand up. I'm more than happy to give you a call tomorrow and we can go through that then. Oh, perfect. Thank you ever so much. I do appreciate the positive feedback. Thank you. Well, I'll let everybody crack on with their evenings now. Again, if anybody does have any questions, my name's Matthew. You can call up any time of the day and you'll be able to catch hold of me. All right. But until then, thank you for your time and have a wonderful evening. Take care. Oh, before I cancel, is there a way to find out which PlansXpress you already have? There is, believe it or not. Let me just see if I can get this right. Hold on. This is usually done by the technical team. So in the top left-hand corner, if you go and find this little page, if you go to About PlansXpress 2020, it should... No, it just tells you your license code and your ID number. Unfortunately, no, I think you're going to have to ask the technical team which version you're actually running. And this is here somewhere between the lines that I'm not reading right now. Or it's somewhere else. But that's how I know you can find your user ID and your license code number. Other than finding out which version of the software it is, I think you're going to have to talk to the technical team. Not a problem. Thank you ever so much for your time this evening, and I hope everybody's had a lovely night. And I'll speak to you soon if I've not heard from you. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.